We are indeed coming live from the Ethiopian Embassy here in Pretoria, where I am going to speak to the ambassador of Ethiopia in South Africa about the visit of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia this coming weekend. Good morning, Ambassador. How is South Africa this morning?
Wonderful, wonderful morning again, as usual.
Thank you for your time, Ambassador. Ambassador, an important visit. Perhaps can you take us through the reasons for this visit? Is it a working visit? Is it a state visit? Is it just a visit to the ANC event on Saturday?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is an official visit, which is made officially through the invitation of the President, Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa. And it will combine both the anniversary as well as in its own rate, the bilateral meetings. And of course there is also a component called a community component as well. So we have three components: the ANC anniversary, the bilateral, and also a community component.
Let's start with the ANC event. Ethiopia and ANC, the South African governing party, long-standing relations.
Correct. These two parties in the continent are what you call progressive and developmental parties, who did have a very common interests and common agenda item all the time. And this has been in place since what you call the struggle against apartheid as well. So the consecutive governments and governing parties of the government of Ethiopia and the Republic of South Africa were partnering to overthrow that rule. And as we speak today, the visit of our Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, is also to enhance the partnership between the newly born party called the Prosperity Party and also ANC as we speak. So it will be leveled up to the strategic level.
The former ANC president, the late former ANC president O.R. Tambo, used to visit Ethiopia quite a lot, and later the then former president Nelson Mandela, before he became the president of the Republic of South Africa, also visited Ethiopia, and the involvement of the ANC leaders or South Africa, the ANC then, in the formation of the African Union and
Correct.
what was called Organization of African Unity.
Correct. It has been always the intention of the two countries, Ethiopia and the Republic of South Africa, to elevate how the Africans are, or the Africans can operate and cooperate together, and through what we call joint organizations as well. On those initial days it was about liberation, but subsequently it was about cooperation at the level of growth and development in the continent. And as we speak, even they progress towards integrating the economies as well. So while the leadership is working on the same understanding at the principles and governing issues within themselves, they have now a serious commitment also to work as a continent jointly to the very cause of the continent.
Looking at Prime Minister of Ethiopia, a very young leader on the continent, working very hard to make friends with the neighbors, something that's very profound, and also reaching out to Eritrea. Do you think the region, the Horn of Africa, that would include IGAD in general, is responding positively to his message of peace in the Horn of Africa?
Absolutely. As we speak, without peace, there is no way you can think of any kinds of development, and peace needs to start. This is, by the way, the principle that our Prime Minister believes as well. If peace doesn't start from your own heart and mind, there is no way it can trickle down to somewhere else. So the Prime Minister started the peace building first of all internally by widening the political space, opening up the economic space, and also with the principles of inclusiveness in the country, so that all kinds of different attitudes can be in the nation to dwell whatever they want on peacefully and democratically. The second is to build peace with your neighborhoods as well. This was what happened with Eritrea. This no war, no peace situation, which was there for about 20 years and claimed about the lives of 100,000 lives, then what happened is through this peace-building heart, peace-building mind, it has come now what you call in one of the pioneering two nations. And the same is true with what happened in Sudan, what's happening in South Sudan, and the Kenya and Somalia and Eritrea and Djibouti, how peace can overflow from yourself to the neighboring countries, but at the same time, that's contributing to the whole continent as a whole. So as our Prime Minister visited the Republic of South Africa, what it means is also to spread the words of peace, the values of peace between regions and among regions as well. This region, which is full of potentials, full of capacities, full of a huge potential of use, shouldn't suffer because of the lack of peace. So the dividend and in fact, the very reason why also he was awarded the 2019 Peace Prize as a laureate right now is that the peace that is inside has to move around and then cover and flood the whole continent, in fact the whole globe as well.
But internally there are still challenges, because when you look at the Ethiopia, the population there, you have many groupings. How is he going to navigate this? And also the coming elections, do you think elections are going to be peaceful, free and fair?
I think that's important point. I think when you open up a political space from where it was a narrow one, then there are opportunities that will be created and bubbled until it gets settled. One important thing is to make sure inclusiveness within the wider and the democratic space is available, so that people start to appreciate their own values, their own contributions. No, the problem is you go south or north or east or west, where the diverse ideas are taken into outliers, where they cannot be reconciled. So the whole principle is, if you try to reconcile, and this is a principle that worked in the Republic of South Africa as well, the reconciling various diversities, various differences are very important. So the election is coming with a population of 110 million. You have to allow diversities to prevail.
And the logistics quite challenging.
The logistics and everything now, the appropriate organizations are working on it, and our trust is it will be done on the schedule they are working with.
Ambassador, when he is talking about his story, he does talk about his experience in Rwanda after the genocide, or during the genocide, as a young soldier who was deployed there. Take us through that, because it looks like that was a turning point that made him to ensure that he is working hard to ensure peace on the continent.
Yeah, that's very important again. I think what we have to realize is that in countries of like ours, or in countries of like our neighbors, you may not, in fact, you shouldn't waste any single coin of your resources, something which will not return back or bring a return back to your own citizens or to your own country. So I think the whole rationale behind is that peace by itself is, I think, a big achievement. It's not only a means, it's also a means for development. You cannot think about development when peace is at stake. So what is happening is the Prime Minister, through his own experience, when he was a young military personnel, he has his own history where, because he left a certain station for a reason, until he comes back, everyone was like whipped out. The experience where, of course, everyone understands what war means. War means, it doesn't mean like a club or it's not like a recreation or a retreat. It's killing people, it's destroying resources, and destroying the hope of the people as well. So the Prime Minister, is in his intention, on his own heart and mind, believes, and he is also now wrote a book, which we call it an inclusiveness book, where, okay, there are strengths, we have to learn from there. Weaknesses, we have to correct them. We have also a contemporary achievement, we have to learn from those ones as well. Then you have to draw what they call a homegrown roadmap. Solutions, so that everyone has a contribution, everyone has a say. No one can be left behind from what we call a country's destiny.
And finally, Ambassador, South Africa will be taking over as the chair of the African Union at the summit in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, first week of February. Are we likely to see synergy between South Africa and Ethiopia? Ethiopia as the seat of the continental body.
That's exactly, I'm sure it will be one of the points during the bilateral discussion to be taken over. The continent is full of hope, full of opportunities, full of resources and full of capacities. Now the opportunity that our Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa will be taking on the 2020, and also the ambition of our Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed, I think it's coming as a strategic point where we can take the continent for various good reasons: prosperity, free trade movement, free people's movement. Then we can maximize whatever we have. So I'm very ambitious, very ambitious. We will enhance through this strategic partnership between the two countries. By the way, to speak a little bit about this, in 26 years of history between the democratic South Africa and Ethiopia, there has never been a single state-level visit exchange between the two countries. So this is why we are saying this is a historical visit to the Republic of South Africa. The second, we have also what we call a sizable population here, sizable Ethiopian population. We would like to see this sizable Ethiopian population contributing to the South Africa's development as well, and also contributing to the nation's development as well in both sides. So the discussion they will be having will have continental issues, bilateral issues, and also global issues as well.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sophie, again.
Thank you for your time, Ambassador.
All the time.
Ethiopian ambassador to South Africa speaking to us about the visit of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia this coming weekend, talking about the fact that even though former President Nelson Mandela and former ANC President Oliver Tambo had good relations with the late Haile Selassie post-1994, this is the first visit that is significant, because between then and now there hasn't been one. Back to you in Studio Brain.